I'm Ryan, 24 years old, and to be frank, my life is quite ordinary. I'm an ordinary individual navigating the daily grind of a standard 9-to-5 role at a tech support firm in Denver, Colorado. It may lack allure, yet it covers the expenses. I reside in a cozy one-bedroom apartment right in the bustling center of the city. Simple yet cozy. In my leisure hours, I often find myself immersed in video games or binge-watching my favorite TV series. As someone who tends to keep to myself, my social circle is relatively small, but I do have a few close friends, including Tom. Tom and I crossed paths a few years back through some mutual friends, and there was an immediate connection between us. He's 20, a bit younger than I am, yet we have a great rapport. We've spent endless hours together, sharing drinks, enjoying games, and discussing a myriad of topics. He feels like the younger sibling I always wished for. I tend to prefer staying in rather than going out often. After a long day at work, I simply wish to take a moment to relax, unwind, and escape the relentless stream of emails and phone calls. That's why I often find myself spending my evenings on the couch, controller in hand, fully absorbed in the game I'm playing. This evening unfolded just like the others. The day at work had been particularly taxing, marked by challenging customers and a patience that felt all but depleted. All I desired was to immerse myself in a new game, switch off my mind, and become absorbed in the digital realm. After powering on my computer, I opened the game and dove right into the experience. All was still. The room was filled with the distant hum of the city outside, accompanied by the gentle click of the controller buttons as I navigated through a level. I was beginning to immerse myself, truly concentrating, when out of nowhere, my phone rang. I cast a quick look at the screen. The number was strange, merely an unidentified caller ID. Usually, I would let it ring and go to voicemail, but for some reason, this evening, I chose to answer it. Greetings. I replied, my voice still echoing with the traces of the day's weariness. Hello, Ryan. A voice emerged from the other end. I paused for a moment. It was an unexpected encounter. Is that you, Rachel? I inquired, a bit perplexed. Indeed, it's Rachel, she responded, her voice steady, yet carrying an undertone of something elusive. Rachel. She was the mother of Tom. At 40, she appears as though she's just stepped out of her 30s. Honestly, I've always found her to be remarkably appealing for her age. Her long, dark hair was always styled to perfection, complemented by a warm and inviting smile. Her demeanor complemented her appearance. Self-assured, sociable, and highly accessible. The most recent occasion I encountered her was during a gathering at Tom's residence. She stopped by to see how he was doing, and we shared a brief conversation. She was consistently kind to me, yet our conversations remained limited to those fleeting moments. Hello, Ryan. Once more, she interrupted my train of thought. I realize this may come across as unusual, but would you be interested in joining me for coffee tomorrow? I would be delighted to have a conversation with you. I was caught off guard. Shall we gather for a coffee chat? With Tom's mother? Indeed, we've exchanged some light-hearted dialogues in the past, but this is on a whole different level. Unsure of how to respond, I simply released a nervous chuckle. Well, I suppose that works. I replied, attempting to keep it laid back. What is this regarding? Initially, she held back, merely stating that it was a personal matter she wished to talk about. A lingering sensation told me there was something deeper at play here, yet I hesitated to delve further. I consented to rendezvous with her at a local cafe the following afternoon. After ending the call, I paused, my thoughts swirling in a whirlwind. What was on her mind to discuss? What makes me the one for this? I was an acquaintance of Tom, not someone she had a deep connection with. Perhaps it was insignificant. Perhaps she was simply seeking companionship or guidance. Yet, an unsettling feeling lingered, and I couldn't dismiss the discomfort that had taken root in my gut. I glanced at my game, yet my concentration had slipped away. My mind wandered back to that peculiar phone call and the possibilities that awaited me tomorrow. Something about this meeting hinted that it would alter the course of everything. The following day, after a grueling day at the office, I caught myself wandering around my apartment, seeking to divert my mind from the peculiar circumstances that awaited me. Rachel's call lingered in my mind, refusing to fade away. What could have prompted her to request a meeting with me? What was on her mind to discuss? I repeatedly reassured myself that it was nothing significant, yet I couldn't dispel the nagging sensation that something was amiss. I had consented to rendezvous with her at a quaint cafe on the fringes of town. A charming spot named Café Blossom, celebrated for its serene ambience and superb coffee. She asked me to join her there at 7 p.m., right after work. I dedicated the afternoon to contemplation, uncertain of what might unfold. As the clock inched closer to 7 p.m., I compelled myself to prepare. I slipped into a straightforward yet tidy shirt and jeans, nothing extravagant, but suitable for a laid-back meeting. I aimed to appear friendly, yet not excessively so. As I stepped out of my apartment, the crisp air enveloped me, embodying the essence of a quintessential fall evening in Denver. I made my way to the cafe, my thoughts swirling, pondering the significance of it all. Upon my arrival, she caught my eye immediately. She occupied a quaint table near the window, her back turned towards me. Rachel. She appeared exactly as I recalled, stunning, self-assured, and poised. She donned a deep green blouse that beautifully enhanced her dark hair and captivating features. As I approached, she glanced in my direction, and her expression brightened with a friendly, inviting smile. "Ryan, I'm thrilled you could join us," she said, rising to welcome me. She wrapped her arms around me gently, and I sensed the warmth of her embrace, though it carried an air of awkwardness. This level of attention from her was unfamiliar to me. "Absolutely," I responded, taking a seat opposite her. "It's a pleasure to see you, Rachel." She smiled once more, and for a fleeting moment, we both lingered in silence, uncertain of what words to share next. The cafe exuded a serene ambience, with gentle melodies wafting through the air, accompanied by the inviting aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Following a moment of silence, she leaned in a bit and began to speak, her tone steady yet sincere. "You know, Tom doesn't have many friends," she said, gazing at me with her deep brown eyes. "He truly appreciates your company, and I've always admired your kindness and thoughtfulness. Honestly, I've been observing you for some time, and all I've noticed are your admirable qualities." I paused momentarily, taken aback by her words. I had always viewed myself as an ordinary individual, nothing out of the ordinary, so her words caught me off guard. "Thank you," I replied, feeling uncertain about how to react. Rachel pressed on, her demeanor now grave. "These past few years have felt incredibly isolating, Ryan. Raising a child alone is a challenging journey, particularly when navigating through grief and loss. Tom's father left us during my pregnancy with him. The journey has been arduous, and at times, it seems as though I've forfeited my youth, missing out on the experiences I ought to have embraced. I've dedicated so much of my energy to raising Tom that I haven't had the chance to live life on my own terms." Her voice quivered slightly, and I noticed the glimmer of tears forming in her eyes. Rachel had never shown this level of vulnerability to me before. She had always exuded strength and confidence, never revealing any hint of vulnerability. "I'm sorry, Rachel," I said gently, a wave of compassion washing over me, though I felt uncertain about how to provide the comfort she needed. "That seems quite challenging." She nodded, brushing aside a tear. "It is, and now, as I age, I sense a dwindling opportunity to pursue the experiences I've overlooked. I yearn to embrace life, seize opportunities, and create lasting memories. I refuse to squander any additional moments lingering in the past." I was at a loss for words. Her words carried a weight, pressing down on her, yet I couldn't ignore the shift in my perception of her. She had transcended the role of merely being Tom's mom. She embodied her own aspirations, sorrows, and yearnings. She was human, and I found myself drawn to her, sensing a bond developing that transcended mere friendship. Rachel pressed on, her tone gentler this time. "This may seem unusual, but I've been reflecting deeply on embracing new approaches, actions I never imagined I would take. I sense a strong urge to compensate for the time I've missed, even if it requires me to venture beyond my usual boundaries. Perhaps that's the reason I felt compelled to meet you, Ryan. I seek a connection with someone beyond just my son's friend, a person with whom I can share a deeper understanding, someone who resonates with me in ways that others cannot. I remained seated, quietly absorbing her words. I felt uncertain about the direction of this conversation, yet an instinct whispered that this meeting held more significance than merely reconnecting. It transcended the ordinary. A catalyst for transformation. We lingered in quietude for a few moments following Rachel's revelation. The atmosphere surrounding us had shifted, imbued with an unfamiliar tension that eluded my understanding. Her vulnerability had unlocked a gateway to a realm beyond the ordinary exchange between a parent and their child's companion. She welcomed me into her realm, a realm I never envisioned I would belong to. As the silence lingered, Rachel's gaze appeared to soften, as though she was summoning the bravery to speak once more. She inhaled deeply before continuing, her tone steadier, yet still imbued with the heaviness of unexpressed thoughts. "Well, Ryan," she began. Leaning slightly forward, I find myself deep in thought about this. I sense that I've devoted a great deal of time to being accountable, nurturing my children, and managing various responsibilities. Yet, I have overlooked the importance of embracing my own life. I wouldn't say I have regrets, yet there's an undeniable sense of being trapped in a cycle. I long to experience that sense of freedom once more, reminiscent of my younger days. I shifted in my seat, uncertain about the direction this dialogue was taking. She appeared profoundly focused, radiating a sense of resolve, as if she had reached a pivotal understanding about herself that she was eager to pursue. "Life is fleeting," she pressed on, locking her gaze with mine. "I've felt constrained for ages, Ryan, but I believe the moment has come for me to liberate myself. I long to experience that sense of vitality once more, you understand. I yearn to venture out, immerse myself in the nightlife of the city, explore clubs, dance freely, and connect with new faces. I long for that sense of freedom I had in my youth. Carefree, unburdened, simply embracing the present." I blinked, attempting to grasp the meaning behind her words. Rachel was suggesting an idea that was utterly surprising, something I could never have envisioned in my most fantastical thoughts. She was hinting at something much deeper than a simple evening of fun. She spoke of shedding the burdens of her everyday existence and reclaiming the liberation she had long forgotten. And she desired my involvement in it. "Would you be willing to join me, Ryan?" she asked, her voice tinged with a hint of shyness, as if uncertain of my response. "I understand this is a significant request, but I find myself without anyone else to turn to for assistance. All the people I'm familiar with seem to be either older or caught up in their own lives. I'm looking for a free spirit, someone who truly understands the art of living fully. Someone akin to you." My heart pounded fiercely within my chest. This was absolutely wild. I had never imagined that anything like this could occur. Rachel, Tom's mother, sat opposite me, urging me to abandon all reservations and embark on a wild escapade through the city, as if we were two carefree college students escaping our obligations. I parted my lips to speak, yet the words eluded me. I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions, unsure whether to feel honored or deeply unsettled. A part of me felt the urge to refuse, to express that this wasn't the right course of action, that it felt too strange, too inappropriate. Yet, another part of me, something profound and instinctive, experienced a surge of exhilaration at the idea of simply embracing the present, casting aside all concerns, and indulging in a night of unadulterated liberation. I inhaled deeply and reclined in my chair, gazing at her. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation, and I could sense the significance this held for her. She sought nothing more than companionship, a partner to help her reclaim the joy and lightheartedness of her youth. After a lengthy silence, I finally found my voice. "Honestly, Rachel, I never imagined I would find myself in a scenario like this," I remarked, attempting to navigate the storm of feelings swirling within me. "However, I understand your point. Life is fleeting, isn't it? Opportunities to truly embrace life are not always within our grasp." Her lips curved into a smile, and the tension in her face began to dissipate slightly. "Precisely," she remarked, her tone becoming gentler. "What are your thoughts on this? Would you care to accompany me? Only for a single night. Let's explore the journey ahead." I paused for just a moment more, the burden of her request lingering heavily on my mind. Ultimately, I found myself unable to say no. Life is fleeting, and there's no time to dwell on every little detail or to constantly choose the safe path. Perhaps it was the moment to embrace an opportunity. "Understood." I exhaled, finally releasing a breath I hadn't known I was holding. "Let's get started. Shall we venture outside? Let's discover the journey the night unfolds." Rachel's face brightened with an authentic smile. In that fleeting instant, a facet of her emerged that had previously escaped my attention. A facet that was liberated, unrestrained, and brimming with vitality. "Thanks, Ryan." She spoke, her tone brimming with appreciation. "I was certain you would get it." In an unexpected turn of events, I found myself nodding in agreement to something I never thought I would. Entering a night brimming with both doubt and potential. This was set to be an unforgettable adventure. The subsequent months unfolded in a haze. Honestly, I don't think I've ever felt so vibrant. Rachel and I had settled into a comfortable flow. It was a sensation that flowed effortlessly, yet was utterly thrilling. After work, rather than falling back into my typical habits of gaming or mindlessly watching TV, I would put on my jacket, step outside, and meet Rachel. It felt as though we had created a hidden realm just for ourselves. A place where time appeared to unfold without limit. Where all that counted was the joy we shared in each other's company. We explored a myriad of locations. Each weekend unfolded like a new chapter in an exhilarating tale. Occasionally, even during the week, we would spontaneously decide to do something. We visited water parks, enjoyed movie theaters, and discovered fascinating spots around the city that I had never known about before. There were moments when we ventured to the fringes, simply to savor the stillness of the night sky or gaze at the stars in the vastness of nowhere. We would share endless laughter, discussing all sorts of random topics. And somehow, those small instances were the ones that lingered in my mind. One night stands out in my memory. Rachel and I found ourselves at a club, where the music thumped, the lights flickered, and the crowd moved as if nothing else mattered. We had been dancing for hours, completely immersed in the rhythm, when she took my hand and led me outside for a breath of fresh air. We lingered on a bench, observing the flow of life around us. And for the first time, it struck me. Her gaze upon me, the curve of her smile. It transcended mere friendship. It was an undercurrent, an undeniable force that demanded my attention. Our adventures extended beyond just the clubs. We enjoyed moments filled with simplicity, such as picnicking in the park or strolling along the riverbank, engaging in conversations that wandered through every topic and meandered into silence. At times, we would venture out for a meal. At other moments, we would simply pick up some snacks and settle on a bench, sharing bites while observing the world unfold around us. It was effortless, straightforward, yet it was also flawless. There were moments, particularly after those long, exhausting nights, when we would find ourselves sprawled on a motel bed or nestled in a quaint cafe, engaging in deep conversations about life, her history, her challenges, my aspirations, and the myriad of things I yearned to pursue but always seemed to put off. What I hadn't anticipated was the depth of my feelings for her. It had become more than mere amusement. At some point in this journey, I found myself developing feelings for her. Not the sort of infatuation that stemmed from a casual encounter, but the genuine, unfiltered emotion of love that unexpectedly enveloped you. The understanding didn't come at once. It gradually unfolded before me. It arrived in fragments, much like a jigsaw waiting to be assembled. I often found my thoughts drifting to her even when we were apart. I would feel a thrill at the thought of seeing her, yet it had evolved beyond merely the joy of spending time together. I was curious about how her day unfolded, what thoughts occupied her mind, and what brought a smile to her face. In our moments together, all seemed perfectly aligned. Her laughter resonated like a beautiful melody. Her smile enveloped me, causing the world around us to blur and vanish. And then there was the way she would gaze at me on occasion. She would often look at me, as if she were attempting to unravel the mystery of who I was. Or perhaps it was as if she was perceiving something within me that I hadn't completely come to terms with yet. It was more than a mere passing look from a companion. It was an experience that resonated on a profound level, filled with a sense of closeness. I sensed that she shared my feelings, yet we both remained silent about it. It felt as though we were both hesitant to make that move. Yet, the reality was that I was developing feelings for her. Profoundly. Each moment spent with Rachel was beginning to hold significance beyond mere leisure. She had woven herself into the fabric of my existence like no one else ever could. No matter how hard I attempted to dismiss it, no matter how often I reassured myself that this was merely a spontaneous, carefree affair, the truth was undeniable: I was in love with her. I simply couldn't find the right words to express that to her. I was uncertain about how to cross the line from friendship, despite the closeness we had developed, into something deeper. I believe I had started to dread that expressing my feelings to her might alter everything. What if her feelings weren't reciprocated? What if it shattered the remarkable connection we had forged? It felt simpler to let words linger in silence. Yet, despite that realization, I understood I could no longer turn a blind eye to it. I found myself captivated by Rachel, and I had to determine my next steps. It was ironic that I remained unaware of her true feelings, yet beneath the surface, a subtle hope lingered within me that perhaps, just perhaps, she shared my sentiments as well. For the time being, I chose to keep it to myself, savoring the moments we experienced together. This was undeniably unique, a treasure I found difficult to part with. It was yet another warm evening, the sort that infused the streets with a vibrant energy, even as the city began to settle into a tranquil hush. As Rachel and I strolled through the park by the river, the faint melodies of music intertwined with the gentle whispers of the leaves. The moonlight danced upon the water, enveloping the surroundings in a gentle, silvery radiance. There was a period when our conversations were few and far between. We strolled together, the gentle breeze tousling our hair, each of us absorbed in our own reflections. Yet this evening had an unusual quality. The accumulation of moments shared, the laughter, the joy, the escapades, had been gradually drawing me toward a realization I could no longer overlook. The urge to share my thoughts with her was undeniable. I had to express my feelings to her, to convey that this had evolved beyond a mere casual fling or a light-hearted friendship for me. "Is that you, Rachel?" I began, my voice shattering the stillness. She glanced my way, her face reflecting a sense of intrigue. "Indeed," she inquired, her tone airy, as though she remained unaware of the gravity in my voice. I inhaled deeply, attempting to collect my thoughts. I was unsure how to express this without appearing absurd, yet I felt it was necessary to be truthful with her. I could no longer maintain the facade that it was merely a light-hearted affair, even though I was uncertain about what this connection truly meant for us. I need to express something, and it's important that I do so clearly. These past few months spent with you, discovering your world, have been truly remarkable. This connection is unlike anything I've experienced before, and it's led me to a realization. I've come to understand that my feelings for you run deeper than friendship, perhaps more than they ought to. Is that you, Rachel? I believe I have developed feelings for you. I halted, observing her expression for any hint of response. Initially, she remained silent. Her expression remained largely unchanged, yet I could detect a fleeting spark in her eyes. Perhaps astonishment, perhaps uncertainty. She gazed at me, and for an instant, time appeared to freeze. My heart pounded fiercely, yet I stood my ground. This was the reality, the sole reality I possessed at this moment. I understand the age gap exists, and it's certainly not trivial, yet I believe it shouldn't be a concern. This feeling is unlike anything I've experienced with anyone else. I found myself hesitating, my words fading away as I grappled with how to conclude my thought. However, it wasn't necessary for me to do so. I had expressed all that needed to be said. Rachel halted her steps and pivoted to confront me directly. She observed me intently for a brief moment. Her gaze had taken on a gentler quality, tinged with a hint of empathy. Her lips parted, revealing a glimpse of her quest for the perfect words. "I'm truly grateful you shared that with me," she replied at last, her tone composed and unwavering. "I've been sensing something as well, Ryan. An unexpected occurrence. However, it's important to grasp that the circumstances are quite intricate." She hesitated briefly, averting her gaze as though searching for the right words to articulate her thoughts. "It brings me joy to know you feel this way. Words cannot express the significance it holds for me. However, the reality is that it extends beyond just ourselves. My life is quite busy at the moment, and I find myself questioning whether this is the right time for something like this." I took a deep breath, attempting to comprehend her words. Was that a rejection? Or is she merely uncertain? However, I have experienced quite a bit. "Ryan," she continued, her voice now gentle, tinged with a hint of vulnerability. "For years, I've been nurturing Tom all by myself. It hasn't been simple, and following all that transpired, I'm uncertain if I'm prepared for a committed relationship. I have no intention of causing you pain, nor do I wish to give you false hope." A tightness gripped my stomach. A part of me longed to express my understanding, to reassure her that it was all right, that I was willing to wait for whatever she required. Yet, a different part of me yearned for honesty, to express that I wasn't ready to release whatever this connection was between us. She inhaled deeply, her gaze finally meeting mine. "However, Ryan, I truly appreciate that you feel this way, and it doesn't alter the joy I find in our time together. You hold a special place in my heart as well. I simply require some time to sort through everything. For the time being, I truly hope we can continue to savor this experience. Let's explore what we have and see where it leads us." I nodded thoughtfully, attempting to comprehend all that she had expressed. A sense of relief washed over me that she didn't completely dismiss my thoughts, yet a lingering frustration remained within me. I longed to hear her express that she shared my feelings, that she was prepared for something deeper. Yet, I understood it was wiser not to press her. This was not the moment for that. "Absolutely, I understand," I declared at last, my voice unwavering despite the rapid beating of my heart. "I am willing to wait, Rachel. I have no intention of leaving. I simply couldn't hold this in any longer. I wanted you to be aware." Her smile blossomed, and her eyes glimmered with warmth. "I appreciate your honesty. It holds significant value." We lingered in that moment, the silence enveloping us felt subtly transformed, yet it was not unwelcome. It felt as though we had both begun to reveal ourselves, and even though everything wasn't entirely defined, there was an undeniable sense of truth in that openness. Our conversation fell silent after that. We strolled on, side by side, the night air embracing us gently. Uncertainty loomed ahead, yet for the first time in ages, a sense of calm washed over me. No matter what unfolded next, I felt a reassuring belief that it would all turn out fine. 2 weeks have passed since that evening in the park, the evening I mustered the courage to express my feelings to Rachel. Since then, it seemed as though we had descended into an abyss. Silence surrounds me, devoid of calls or messages. The stillness was overwhelming. Each day pressed heavily upon me, filled with questions about what had transpired and where things had gone awry. I reached my breaking point. I had to find out. I sought resolution. So, I took a step I hadn't taken in quite a while. I reached out to Rachel. After several rings, she finally answered the phone. Her voice carried a sense of distance, tinged with a hint of strain. "Greetings, Ryan," she remarked, as if taken by surprise. "Hello," I responded, striving to maintain a calm tone, yet the underlying tension was unmistakable. "It's time for a conversation. Shall we arrange a meeting?" After a lengthy silence, she ultimately consented. "All right, I'll see you in an hour." In the cafe. I arrived ahead of time, anticipating her arrival, my thoughts swirling with uninvited concerns I was reluctant to face. What was happening? Had it come to an end? Did she truly mean every word she spoke that evening? Or was I merely a fleeting diversion? As Rachel entered, she appeared just as she always did. Stunning. Assured. Yet, an undeniable weight clung to her that hadn't existed previously. She took a seat opposite me, her eyes drifting away for a brief moment before finally locking onto mine. "So, what's happening?" I inquired, striving to maintain a steady tone, yet I sensed the irritation beginning to surface. "What's been keeping us from chatting? What's holding you back from getting in touch?" Rachel let out a deep breath, her fingers weaving through her hair, searching for the perfect expression. "Ryan." She started, her tone gentle yet resolute. "I've been reflecting deeply. Who we are. I came to understand that the situation is far more intricate than I first perceived. I have many aspects of my life that require my attention, and whatever this is between us cannot progress any further at this moment." I gazed at her, the words striking me with the force of a blow to the stomach. "What exactly are you implying? Are you suggesting that it's finished?" I inquired, my voice scarcely rising above a murmur. She paused, averting her gaze briefly before meeting my eyes again. "I'm not suggesting it's finished, but perhaps it's time for us to pause and reflect. It's overly intricate." "You're incredible, Ryan." "Indeed, you truly are. However, I have a son and a life that is quite complex, and I must concentrate on that. At this moment, I doubt I can provide what you're seeking, and to be frank, I'm uncertain if I can fulfill your needs in the future." Her words pierced my heart, leaving me momentarily speechless. I found myself sitting there, the heaviness of her choice bearing down on me. I felt the urge to argue, to express my deep feelings, to plead for her to think again, yet I understood the futility of it all. The expression in her eyes revealed all the truths I sought. This was beyond my control. "I comprehend." I spoke, my words emerging more fractured than I had hoped, yet it doesn't lessen the difficulty, Rachel. I believed we shared something genuine, something deserving of our struggle. Rachel regarded me with compassion, her lips forming a melancholic smile. "I understand, I felt the same way, but at times, emotions alone can't resolve everything, and at this moment, this decision is what's best for us both." I found myself at a loss for words. A weight settled in my chest, the air around me seemed to vanish, leaving an unsettling void within. This wasn't how I envisioned the conclusion unfolding. It fell short of my expectations. We lingered in quietude, both at a loss for words, unsure of what to express next. Ultimately, I rose to my feet, uncertain if it was the correct choice, yet I could no longer remain seated. "I suppose this is the end, then." I spoke softly, then turned and began to walk away. Just as I was about to depart, Rachel softly took hold of my arm. "Ryan, I sincerely apologize. You are worthy of far more than I can offer at this moment, yet you truly embody goodness. Do not allow me, to hinder you from attaining what you truly deserve." I chose not to reply. I stepped out of the cafe, the door clicking shut behind me, and the world seemed to slow its pace just a touch. Nearly a month has passed, and I still haven't received any word from Rachel.